Hi everybody, Shlomo Eitan, lesson number 31. We're moving ahead, folks. The pace picks up as we get more information under our belts. So let's get started right away. Today we're learning a new pattern. Here you go, folks. In the last lesson we learned the ledaber pattern, present and past tense. That is to say, we had expanded from the lishmor and liknot over to ledaber. The four forms of the present tense of ledaber are, and you should try and say them along with me or even before me and pause, they are medaber, medaberet, medabrim, medabrot. The past tense of that is dibarti, dibarta, dibart, diber, dibra, dibarnu, dibartem, dibarten, dibru, dibru. What we explained as being so critical for the ledaber pattern, the mother pattern as it were, in that column, will be applicable for linasot, the verb underneath it. In particular, underneath the lamed, there'll always be the two standing dots, and in the second root letter, there will be a dagesh. Now, I'm not going to write the dagesh in every single time, just like I didn't do it for ledaber. At least I don't think I did. But you don't really need it, because what you need to do is recognize it as a pattern and treat it as such, and you're all set from that point on in time. So here's the present tense of the linasot pattern. Let's read it together, or listen to me read it first for you if you like, as I read the present tense of linasot. Menaseh, menasah, menasim, menasot. And it's a good question to ask you at this point in time. What are the three root letters in this word? And I hope you came up with a quick answer, nun, samach, hey. That makes linasot kind of like a first cousin of liknot. Remember the sound of liknot, focusing in particular at the end of the word, where it too had a third root letter hey. And it was koneh, kona, konim, konot. And now here carefully, menaseh, menasah, menasim, menasot. And linasot, in comparison with its mother pattern, ledaber, well, it's going to be more like a parent to a child. It's going to have a primary characteristic, and by that I mean it's going to share a primary characteristic, and by that I mean it's going to start the same way the verb ledaber starts in the present tense, which is meh. And once again, I did not put in the dagesh in the samach, the so-called structural dagesh, because it wouldn't be changing our pronunciation, and you won't see it unless you're in a very well vowelized text, which is not so common in this generation. People are focused on the pattern, and the dagesh might be valuable, particularly in the learning of Torah, but here you won't be at any loss for not having it. So, four forms of the present tense one more time: menaseh, menasah, menasim, menasot. And just like ledaber had started meda, so linasot starts mena. Okay, now let's get on to the past tense. Here it is, folks. The first time I do it, follow along with me. Nisiti, nisita, nisit, nisa, nista, nisinu, nisitem, nisiten, nisu, nisu. And a little bit faster. Nisiti, nisita, nisit, nisa, nista, nisinu, nisitem, nisiten, nisu, nisu. Once again, like I did with ledaber, I want to stress to you that in unvowelized Hebrew, we're always sticking in a yud after the nun, forcing the student to read it as ni. Remember, unvowelized, so it's not going to have the dot under the ni to give us that clear reading, but by sticking in the yud after the nun, which is a man-made rule, it'll make it much, much clearer in an unvowelized text that we're indeed in this pattern. Without that yud in there, in an unvowelized text, this could actually look like kaniti, kanita. I tell students not to be concerned about the fact that linasot and linasot will look identical in an unvowelized text. And the reason I say that is because, believe it or not, if you've worked through my teaching of the linasot pattern, we have learned together most of the popular verbs of the linasot pattern, as hard as that may be for you to believe. And hence, if you're seeing an entirely new word that you don't recognize at this point in your progress in learning Hebrew, then you may make a fundamental assumption. It'll be a little bit of a guess. It'll be an assumption that you're in the linasot pattern. I haven't yet mentioned what linasot means, right? The answer is to try. And let's just give you a couple other verbs of this pattern. Letsapot. I chose this verb in particular because, as you all know, we've seen the linasot garden variety of this as litzpot. Two different words, two different meanings, sharing the same root. Litzapot, our newest pattern, 4 forms of the present tense. Mitzapem, mitzapam, mitzapim, mitzapot, past tense in its entirety. Tzipiti, tzipita, tzipit, tzipat, tzipta, tzipinu, tzipitem, tzipiten, tzipu, tzipu. Litzpot, and the verb litzapot, to anticipate, to expect, and even in more rare contexts, to plate, to put plating onto something, maybe even to glaze a cake. Whereas litzpot, the linasot type verb, tzofet, tzofat, tzofim, tzofot, simply meant to watch. Another famous verb of this pattern that I'm sure will serve use for you, and it is the verb kot. 4 forms of the present tense, folks. Do it all on your own. Now my turn. Mechakeh, mechakah, mechakim, mechakot. Remembering structural ligation in the middle, and then past tense in its entirety. Pause me. Do it on your own. Chikiti, chikita, chikit, chika, chikta, chikinu, chikitem, chikiten, chiku, chiku. Just like we learned the primary sub-pattern of lishmor, we've now learned the present and past tense of the primary sub-pattern of lidaber, and we're on our merry way, folks. This was lesson 31. See you in the next lesson, and I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It will help boost my ratings a little bit, which will get a little bit more exposure out there so that more people can learn Hebrew along with us. All the best. Shalom, shalom.